Your soulmate is about to reveal they're married. But there's an even bigger secret. Watch now to discover the truth. My beloved child. Something has been sitting behind your soulmate's silence, and they know they cannot keep it hidden much longer. They are about to reveal something that could completely change the way you understand their story. They are married. But don't skip, because that is not the revelation that has been weighing most heavily on their mind. There is another truth behind it, something they have struggled to put into words, something that explains why their behavior around you has felt confusing, distant, or strangely emotional. For a long time, they believed they could keep these two parts of their life separated. They thought they could continue moving forward without ever having to explain everything. But recently, something shifted. A conversation happened. A realization became impossible to ignore. And suddenly, the secret they had carefully kept behind closed doors began moving toward the surface. Stay till the end, because the most surprising part is not simply what they are going to admit. It is why they feel you need to know it now. Something huge is waiting for you, and every detail leads toward a truth you probably would never have guessed from the outside. What makes this even more unexpected is that their marriage is only the first layer of the story. There is a reason they hesitated before telling you. There is a reason they kept replaying certain conversations in their mind, wondering how much they should reveal and how you might see them afterward. They know that once the truth is spoken, there is no returning to the comfortable silence that existed before. But here is where everything changes. The bigger secret is connected to a decision they made long before you understood what was happening. A decision that looked ordinary to everyone else but carried an entirely different meaning underneath. Your soulmate has been questioning what their future should actually look like, and your presence forced them to confront questions they had avoided for far too long. Don't skip here, because the next piece matters. They did not suddenly wake up with all the answers. This has been building quietly through moments nobody else noticed. Moments when they remembered your words, reconsidered their choices, and realized that hiding the truth was creating more confusion than simply facing it. And now they have reached the point where keeping everything buried feels impossible. But the biggest secret still hasn't surfaced. That is exactly why you need to stay till the end. There is one detail that changes the meaning of everything you have heard so far, and your soulmate knows this detail may surprise you more than the marriage revelation itself. Something huge is waiting for you. Their silence was never as simple as it appeared. Behind it was an unfinished chapter, an important choice, and a truth they were afraid would completely change how you viewed them. Now that truth is moving closer to you. They are preparing to explain why they waited, what changed recently, and what they discovered about themselves while trying to keep everything under control. And just when you think you understand where this story is going, another piece appears, because someone else already knows part of the secret. That person recently said something your soulmate never expected to hear, and those few words pushed them toward finally telling you everything. What was said? Why did it affect them so deeply? And what does their marriage have to do with the much bigger truth they have been protecting? The answer begins with the conversation they never expected to have. The conversation began with a question your soulmate was completely unprepared to answer. Someone who already knew about the marriage looked at them and asked why they were still carrying so much uncertainty if everything in their life was supposedly settled. Your soulmate tried to brush it aside. They tried to give a simple explanation. But then came the sentence that changed the entire conversation. If everything is exactly where you want it to be, why does one person keep changing the way you think about your future? And suddenly, there was silence. Don't skip, because this was the moment your soulmate realized the bigger secret was no longer hidden as well as they believed. Someone had noticed the change. Someone had seen how differently they reacted whenever you were mentioned. And instead of denying it again, your soulmate finally admitted something they had barely admitted to themselves. Meeting you had forced them to question the story they had been telling themselves about what they truly wanted. Stay till the end, because that confession was only the beginning. The person sitting across from them knew there was still another piece missing, and one carefully chosen question was about to bring it out. What happened next caught your soulmate completely off guard. They were asked whether you even knew the full truth about their situation. The answer was no. Then came another question: so what happens when they finally discover everything? Your soulmate could not answer immediately. They imagined you hearing the truth. They imagined the questions you might have. And for the first time, they understood that silence could not protect anyone forever. Something huge is waiting for you, because the bigger secret is connected to why they kept postponing this conversation in the first place. It wasn't simply embarrassment or uncertainty. There was an unresolved decision behind the scenes, a decision involving the direction of their future that had quietly been developing before they ever found the courage to explain it. Don't skip now. Your soulmate had already begun reconsidering something important in their life, but they never expected you to become connected to that realization. You did not force it. You may not even have known it was happening. Yet somehow, your presence became the mirror that made them see what they had been avoiding. And then the conversation reached the sentence your soulmate has not been able to forget. The other person told them, "You're worried about revealing that you're married, but that isn't the part that will surprise them most." Your soulmate immediately looked up. Because they knew exactly what those words meant. Stay till the end. The marriage is the visible secret, but underneath it sits something far more unexpected, a truth about what your soulmate had already decided they could no longer pretend about. Something huge is waiting for you, and the next revelation changes the direction of this entire story. Your soulmate is not preparing to speak simply because someone discovered their secret. They are preparing because a choice has reached a point where silence is no longer possible. And there is one extraordinary detail they have not told anyone completely, not even the person who confronted them. That detail involves a moment connected directly to you, a moment that seemed small when it happened but became impossible for them to forget afterward. It was the moment they suddenly understood why their carefully controlled life had begun feeling different. And what they realized about you in that moment is exactly where the bigger secret truly begins. There is one detail your soulmate has been avoiding because the moment they say it aloud, everything changes. The marriage was never the final revelation. It was only the doorway into something much deeper. Don't skip, because this is where the pieces that seem disconnected suddenly begin fitting together. Your soulmate has been thinking about a future that looks completely different from the one everyone assumes they have chosen. That realization did not arrive overnight. It grew quietly through conversations, memories, and moments when they found themselves comparing what their life looked like on the outside with what they genuinely wanted on the inside. And somehow, Thoughts of you kept appearing whenever they asked themselves the hardest question: if I could stop pretending everything was already decided, what would I actually choose? That question changed them. Stay till the end, because their answer surprised even them. They realized they could no longer make important choices simply because other people expected them to remain the same person forever. Something huge is waiting for you, because the bigger secret is not merely about their past. It is about a decision concerning their future, and they believe you deserve to hear the truth before making any assumptions about what comes next. But here is the twist they never expected. Someone close to them had already noticed that decision forming before your soulmate admitted it. That person had watched the little changes, the hesitation when certain plans were mentioned, the unusual silence whenever the future came up, and the way your soulmate became thoughtful whenever something reminded them of you. Eventually, they asked one simple question: are you staying where you are because it is truly what you want, or because changing your life feels too difficult? Your soulmate had no immediate answer. Don't skip now, because that silence revealed more than any explanation could. For the first time, they understood that the bigger secret was not something another person had created. It was something happening inside them. They had begun questioning whether the life they were maintaining still represented who they had become. And your presence did something unexpected: it made honesty harder to avoid. Not because you demanded anything from them, but because thinking about you reminded them of the version of themselves that wanted clarity instead of appearances. Stay till the end. The next thing they admitted during that conversation was so unexpected that even the person listening stopped speaking. Your soulmate finally said they had been preparing to tell you everything because they did not want you discovering the truth through rumors, assumptions, or somebody else's version of the story. They wanted the words to come directly from them. But something huge is waiting for you, because they also admitted there was another conversation they needed to have first, one that could determine what their future actually looks like. Nothing has been magically settled, and they know real choices carry real consequences. Yet one thing has become impossible for them to ignore: continuing in silence would only create more confusion. Don't skip, because there is still one missing piece. Before your soulmate made the decision to finally speak, they returned to something connected to you, something they had kept for longer than anyone realized. And when they looked at it again, they remembered one particular moment between you that suddenly made everything feel different. That memory contained a detail they had overlooked the first time. Now they believe it explains why you became connected to this turning point at all. And once you discover what that detail was, the marriage revelation will no longer seem like the biggest secret in this story. What your soulmate returned to was not something dramatic. That is exactly why its meaning hit them so deeply. It was a simple memory of something you once said, a sentence you may not even remember clearly anymore. You spoke about honesty, about never wanting someone to choose you through confusion, pressure, or unfinished promises. At the time, your soulmate stayed quiet. But now those words came rushing back with completely different meaning. Don't skip, because this was the moment they understood something important. Before they could ever ask what you might feel about them, they needed to become completely truthful about their own life. No half-explanations. No carefully edited version of the story. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate realized that revealing the marriage was not enough. They needed to explain what had been happening behind that revelation, why their future had become uncertain, and why your presence had made them stop accepting easy answers. And then came the realization they had been resisting: you were never supposed to become an escape from their complicated situation. You became the reason they finally understood that every unfinished chapter needed to be faced honestly before any new chapter could even be considered. But there was another discovery hidden inside that memory. Your soulmate remembered exactly how you looked when you said those words, and suddenly they understood why that moment had stayed with them. You were not asking for promises. You were not trying to control an outcome. You were simply being genuine. And that difference affected them more than they ever admitted. Don't skip now, because this is where the bigger secret begins taking shape. Your soulmate has secretly imagined telling you the entire truth, not to guarantee that you will choose them, but because your opinion matters to them far more than they expected. They have wondered whether you would understand. Whether you would walk away. Whether you would see them differently afterward. And beneath all those questions was one truth they could no longer dismiss: somewhere along the way, you became emotionally important to them. Something huge is waiting for you, because even that is not the final revelation. There is a specific reason they believe your connection entered their life at exactly the moment when they were beginning to question everything. Then came the discovery that changed their perspective completely. Your soulmate realized the timeline was different from what they had remembered. Their doubts about the future had actually started before the deepest part of your connection developed. You did not create the uncertainty. You simply made it impossible for them to keep ignoring uncertainty that was already there. Stay till the end, because that distinction means everything to them. They do not want to place the weight of their choices on you. Whatever they decide must be their responsibility. But there is still one truth they desperately want you to understand: meeting you showed them what genuine clarity felt like, and once they recognized that feeling, pretending became harder. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is still one final layer they have not revealed. Your soulmate has already rehearsed the exact conversation they want to have with you. They know the first thing they will confess. They know the question they are terrified you might ask. And most surprisingly, they already know what their answer will be. That answer is where the biggest secret finally starts coming into the light. The answer your soulmate has been rehearsing begins with a truth they can no longer soften or hide. If you ask them, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" they already know exactly what they want to say, because they were afraid the first truth would stop you from hearing the rest of the story. They knew the words, "I'm married," could change everything in a single second. They feared you might immediately close the door before understanding what had actually been happening inside their life. But don't skip, because they also know they cannot control your reaction, and they no longer want to. They want to give you the complete truth and allow you to decide what it means for you. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The bigger secret is finally becoming clear. Your soulmate has been facing a major turning point that began before your connection became emotionally important. They had already started questioning whether the future everyone expected from them was truly the future they wanted. Then you entered the picture, and instead of creating those questions, you exposed how deeply those questions already existed. Here is what makes their next confession so unexpected. Your soulmate does not want you to become responsible for whatever decision they make. They have finally understood that if their life needs to change, that choice must come from honesty within themselves, not from promises about you, not from fantasy, and not from pressure. Don't skip now, because this realization completely changed what they planned to tell you. At first, they imagined revealing everything and immediately asking where they stood with you. Now they have decided differently. They want to tell you the truth without demanding an answer. They want you to have space to process it. And somewhere inside that decision is the secret they have been struggling hardest to admit. What they feel when they think about you has become real enough that they would rather risk hearing an answer they do not want than continue building your connection around something you do not know. Something huge is waiting for you. For perhaps the first time, they are choosing complete honesty over controlling what happens afterward. But there is one final piece that makes this story even more surprising. During all those imagined conversations, your soulmate kept returning to one question: what if they ask me what I truly want? For days, they could not answer it without hesitation. Then something shifted. Stay till the end, because their answer finally became simple. They want clarity. They want every unfinished situation handled honestly. They want no hidden chapters standing between themselves and whatever future comes next. And only after that can they discover what your connection truly means. Don't skip, because the biggest secret was never simply that they were married. The bigger secret was that behind the silence, your soulmate had already begun confronting a life-changing truth about themselves. They could no longer continue living according to a future they had stopped questioning. Now they are preparing to speak. Not with guarantees. Not with demands. With the truth. And when that conversation finally reaches you, the most important question may no longer be what your soulmate has been hiding. It may be what both of you choose to do once nothing is hidden anymore. But just when your soulmate believed they had finally understood what needed to happen, one unexpected realization changed the entire conversation they had been preparing. They suddenly understood that telling you the truth is not the end of this story, it is the beginning of the first completely honest chapter. Don't skip, because this realization hit them harder than anything before it. For so long, they had been focused on what they might lose when you discovered they were married. But now they are thinking about something completely different: what could be lost if they never gave you the chance to know the real story at all. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate knows they cannot ask you to overlook anything, and they do not intend to. Instead, they want to explain where their life truly stands, what they have been questioning, and why they waited until now to speak. The shocking part is that while rehearsing this confession, they discovered their greatest fear was never simply losing your attention. It was realizing that you might have known only the carefully protected version of them rather than the person underneath. And now they would rather risk changing everything than continue allowing silence to speak for them. Then something happened that made their decision feel even more immediate. They heard your name in an ordinary conversation, and instead of feeling comfort, they felt the weight of everything you still did not know. That tiny moment became impossible to ignore. Don't skip now, because this is where your soulmate finally stopped asking, "Should I tell them?" and started asking, "How do I tell them everything without hiding behind excuses?" Something huge is waiting for you. They began putting the truth into order. The marriage, the doubts that existed before your connection deepened, the questions about their future, and the reason you became so emotionally significant to them. And while doing that, they noticed something surprising. Every road led back to one specific moment when you treated them with a kind of sincerity they had not expected. You never knew what that moment meant to them. You may have forgotten it completely. But your soulmate did not. That moment became the quiet standard against which they started measuring their own honesty. And once they did, they realized there was still one thing they had not been honest enough to admit. That hidden admission is what they are now preparing to say after everything else is finally on the table. Stay till the end, because it changes the meaning of every hesitation that came before. Your soulmate wants you to know that whatever happens next, they do not regret discovering the truth about themselves through knowing you. Don't skip. They cannot promise what the future will become, and they know they must responsibly resolve their existing commitments before asking anything of you. But something huge is waiting for you, because the once-in-a-lifetime revelation is not a secret promise or a predetermined ending. It is that your connection became the moment when they stopped accepting a life built around things left unsaid. They are finally ready to let you see everything, the complicated truth, the uncertainty, the feelings they struggle to name, and the choices they must make for themselves. And there is still one question they have been saving until the very end. It is not, "Will you wait for me?" It is far more powerful. They want to ask whether, after hearing the complete truth, you would be willing to have one completely honest conversation with them. Because what they need to reveal during that conversation is the one thing they have never managed to say out loud. The one thing your soulmate has never managed to say out loud is not a promise, it is an admission. They have been afraid that if they put it into words, they would finally have to accept how deeply this entire experience changed them. Don't skip, because this is the point where the secret moves beyond their marriage and reaches the truth they have been protecting from even themselves. They want to tell you, "Knowing you made me realize I wasn't being completely honest about what I wanted from my own life." That sentence has followed them through quiet moments, difficult questions, and every attempt to convince themselves that nothing needed to change. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They are not saying you created their uncertainty. They know those questions existed before your connection became important. But meeting you gave those questions a voice. Suddenly, they could see the difference between simply continuing a familiar path and consciously choosing a future. And once they saw that difference, they could not unsee it. That is why the truth has become impossible to postpone. What makes this revelation even stronger is what your soulmate plans to say immediately afterward. They do not want you carrying responsibility for decisions that belong to them. Don't skip now, because this matters more than anything they have admitted so far. They know their existing commitments must be handled honestly and independently. They know you deserve facts instead of dramatic promises. And surprisingly, accepting that has brought them closer to the conversation they once feared. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has finally stopped rehearsing ways to convince you of anything. Now they are rehearsing how to tell you the truth without asking for an immediate answer. They want you to hear everything. They want you to ask whatever you need to ask. And if you need distance afterward, they are preparing themselves to respect that too. Yet beneath all this maturity sits one powerful truth. They hope that when the confusion is removed, there may still be something genuine between you worth understanding. And this is where the biggest secret takes its final shape. Stay till the end. Your soulmate once thought they needed to reveal a hidden fact about their life. Now they realize they need to reveal a hidden truth about themselves. Don't skip, because the distinction changes everything. The marriage is something you need to know, but the deeper confession is that they have reached a point where they cannot keep living automatically, pretending difficult questions will disappear if ignored long enough. Something huge is waiting for you. They are choosing to confront those questions openly, even without knowing what the answers will cost them. And when they finally speak to you, there is one sentence they want to leave until the very end. Not because it guarantees a future together, but because it expresses exactly what your presence meant to them. You reminded me that the truth matters more than the appearance of having everything figured out. After that, the next move will not belong to secrets, assumptions, or hidden expectations. It will belong to honesty. And your soulmate knows that whatever happens after the truth comes out, neither of you will ever have to wonder what was left unsaid. And now your soulmate has reached the moment they once believed they could postpone forever. The words are ready. The excuses are disappearing. And the truth they have been carrying is finally stronger than the fear of what happens after they reveal it. Don't skip, because there is one final detail that changes how you will understand everything that came before. Your soulmate has realized that the most important part of this confession is not convincing you to stay. It is giving you the freedom to see the complete picture and decide for yourself. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They want to tell you about the marriage first, clearly and without hiding behind complicated explanations. Then they want to explain that their questions about their future began long before your connection reached this point. And finally, they want to admit what they struggled hardest to accept. Knowing you made those unanswered questions impossible to ignore. Not because you asked them to change their life. Not because you promised them anything. Simply because your presence reminded them what it felt like to stop pretending they already had every answer. But there is another reason they are finally ready, and this may be the most surprising revelation yet. Your soulmate understands that whatever happens between you cannot begin with secrecy. Don't skip now, because this is the boundary they have finally drawn for themselves. They will not ask you to become part of an unfinished situation. They will not make you responsible for choices they need to make independently. They know their existing commitments must be faced honestly before any possibility involving you can be explored. Something huge is waiting for you, because that realization completely transformed what they thought this confession would be. Once, they imagined telling you everything and immediately asking how you felt. Now they understand your answer does not need to come immediately. You deserve time. You deserve clarity. And above everything, you deserve the truth before being asked to make any emotional decision. That may sound simple, but for your soulmate it represents an enormous change. For the first time, they are willing to accept an uncertain outcome rather than protect themselves with silence. So when the conversation finally happens, remember what the real revelation has become. Stay till the end, because this was never only a story about discovering that your soulmate is married. The bigger secret was hidden underneath. They have been confronting a truth about the direction of their own life, and knowing you became part of the moment when they could no longer avoid it. Don't skip this final piece. Something huge is waiting for you, but it is not a guaranteed ending written somewhere beyond your control. It is the possibility of finally seeing everything clearly. Your soulmate is preparing to remove the mystery, tell you what is real, and accept whatever honest conversation follows. And there is something powerful about that moment, because once every secret is gone, neither of you needs to guess anymore. No hidden marriage. No carefully protected questions. No imagined promises. Just the complete truth, two people allowed to make their own choices, and a future that does not need to be predicted before it can be understood. The secret may have brought you this far, but what happens after the truth is revealed will depend on something far stronger than secrecy, what both of you choose when there is finally nothing left to hide. But there is one more truth your soulmate discovered only after deciding to tell you everything, and it may be the most unexpected realization of all. For weeks, they believed the hardest moment would be watching your face when they revealed they were married. Now they understand the harder moment will come afterward, when there are no secrets left to hide behind and they must finally answer the question they have avoided for so long: what do I actually want my life to become? Don't skip, because their answer has started changing everything. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate has stopped searching for an easy way out and started looking for the most honest way forward. They know they cannot rewrite yesterday. They cannot control your reaction. And they cannot promise an outcome that depends on choices still waiting to be made. But they can finally stop pretending that silence is protecting anyone. That is why this confession feels so different now. It is no longer about revealing one shocking fact. It is about opening every closed door and allowing the complete truth to stand where secrecy once lived. Then came the moment that surprised even your soulmate. While imagining what they would say to you, they stopped thinking about how to make you understand them and started thinking about what they needed to understand about you. Don't skip now, because this completely changed the question they planned to ask. They no longer want to say, "Do you feel the same way?" Not yet. Instead, they want to ask, "What do you need to know from me before you decide what this means to you?" That question represents everything that has changed inside them. Something huge is waiting for you, because they finally understand that real honesty means allowing you to hear answers that may be uncomfortable, ask questions they cannot avoid, and make choices they cannot control. And strangely, that realization has not pushed them away from the truth. It has pulled them closer to it. Your soulmate would rather know where they genuinely stand with you after everything is revealed than keep wondering what might happen if you only knew part of their story. And now the confession is closer than ever. Stay till the end, because your soulmate has one final sentence they want to say before allowing the conversation to become yours. They want to look at you without hiding behind expectations and admit, "Whatever you decide after hearing this, I needed you to hear the truth from me." Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because that sentence finally explains why this revelation became so important. The marriage may be what shocks you first. The deeper secret may be how profoundly they have begun questioning their future. But the greatest change is that your soulmate has finally accepted that truth must come before possibility. Before promises. Before dreams about what might happen next. They are preparing to put everything on the table and allow reality to decide what survives. And when that happens, one mystery will remain, the only mystery neither of you can answer beforehand. Once every secret has disappeared and every question has been faced, will this connection fade under the weight of reality, or will you discover that the most meaningful part of your story could only begin after the truth was finally told?